Sixth vial, Revelation 16:12. What happens in the sixth vial is, we discussed about a Euphrates flood in the sixth trumpet, isn't it? There was a Euphrates flood in the sixth trumpet, but now in the sixth vial, the Euphrates river dries up. Let's read Revelation 16:12.
And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared.
So now this vial is poured upon the great river Euphrates, and the river dried up. And let me compare it with the sixth trumpet. Sixth trumpet is mentioned in Revelation 9:14, saying to the sixth angel who had the trumpet, release the four angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. How did we interpret the sixth trumpet? It is the Ottoman Empire. The flood is nothing but the Ottoman Empire, the rise of the Ottoman Empire. And this is the fall of the Ottoman Empire. The Euphrates flood is the rise of the Ottoman Empire. Euphrates getting dried up is the fall of the Ottoman Empire. Drying up of the Euphrates, this is the defeat and dissolution of the Ottoman Empire. This happened between 1917 and 1922. It has got a lot of context with respect to Jerusalem and even Christianity. Let's read Jeremiah 50:38.
A drought is against her waters, and they will be dried up, for it is the land of carved images, and they are insane with their idols.
A drought is against her waters. Whose waters? Babylon's waters. And they will be dried up. This was already prophesied. Waters getting dried up, it means that a kingdom being broken up and people being butchered and people getting divided, people moving out of the countries, and that's what is the drying up of the Euphrates river. Jeremiah 51:36. Therefore thus says the Lord, behold, I will plead your case and take vengeance for you. I will dry up her sea and make her springs dry. What is Jesus going to gain by drying up the seas and the springs? Jesus is not going to gain anything. But here, sea and the springs, it refers to the people. Sea and the springs, the water, it refers to the people. Let's have a look at the interpretation in Revelation 17:15. Then he said to me, the waters which you saw, where the harlot sits, are peoples, multitude, nations, and tongues. Waters, it represents the people. Let's look at the interpretation of the sixth vial. This is the fall of the Ottoman Empire, Turkey. This is the biggest caliphate the Islamic world has ever known. This is the biggest caliphate even till date. And there are more than 15 countries which are right now Islamic individual countries, and all these 15 countries were inside a single empire. And could you imagine Saudi Arabia, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Lebanon, Syria, and all these other Islamic countries merging into a single entity? How big it will be, and what kind of darkness you could have. And this is how the Ottoman Empire was operating for about more than 4 to 5 centuries. 400 years they had Jerusalem in their hands, starting from 1517 to 1917. There is something in 1517. 1517, Martin Luther started the Reformation. 1517, October 31st, Martin Luther started the Reformation. And 1517, the Ottomans, they captured Jerusalem. And 1917, Jerusalem was freed from the hands of the Ottoman Empire during the First World War, and England got Jerusalem back. England got Jerusalem back, and the same year they had declared the Balfour Declaration. Balfour Declaration, they said we are giving independence to Israel. And 1948, they became a separate country. And 1917, this is when Ottoman Turkey, they got defeated by England in the First World War. And this time period, the fall of the Ottoman Empire, it happened between 1821 to 1917. And if you read Daniel chapter 11, the final king of the north, there are multiple kings of the north and multiple kings of the south, and this one chapter, it traces about 400-500 years of history. Daniel chapter 11. And one of the kings of the north is Turkey. One of the kings of the north is Turkey in Daniel chapter 11. And he will get problem from a northern country. And if you look at the actual defeat of Turkey, he was fighting a lot of wars with Russia. Russia started to become like a superpower even before 150 years before. Russia started becoming a superpower even before 150 years. They started many wars with Turkey, and in most of the wars between Russia and Turkey, Russia won. Russia was the one who was actually weakening Turkey. And during the First World War, Turkey was at its weakest best. It was at its weakest level. It was easier for England to break up Turkey during the First World War. And where were the wars happening? The wars happened in the Judean mountains. That's when the generals from English army, they were able to get the victory against the Ottoman Empire. So the drying up of the Euphrates flood, this is the fall of the Ottoman Empire and the breakup of the Ottoman Empire into multiple Islamic countries. And there is something called as a Greek insurrection. This is one of the events that weakened the Ottoman Empire. And this is the Greek insurrection which happened in 1821. There are a lot of other events. And the Pasha of Egypt, he started a rebellion against the Ottoman Empire. So this is one more significant event. And finally, it was dissolved in 1922. There was also an internal movement in Turkey called as the Young Turk Revolution. And there were a lot of other issues like Bosnia and Herzegovina issue in 1908. And finally, it was broken up by the First World War powers which won the First World War. Let's have a look at the partitioning map. Before the World War I, Turkey, Ottoman Empire was a big empire. But after the partitioning of the Ottoman Empire, this is a small parcel of land, Turkey. Turkey became very small, Ottoman Empire became very small. And here there is a French Syria, this was actually part of Turkey. And this is the British Palestine, this is Israel. This is the British portion, and even Russia took a portion out of it. France took a portion out of it. The powers which won the First World War, they took a lot of portions. They took a lot of countries from the Ottoman Empire. This agreement is called as the Sykes-Picot Agreement between the countries who won the First World War. This agreement is called as the Sykes-Picot people. So these are two guys who planned the partitioning of the empire among the countries who are going to win the First World War. This is the British Mandate Palestine, independent Saudi Arabia, and British Mandate Mesopotamia, independent Republic of Turkey, and there is a French portion. This is how they partitioned Turkey. They cut Turkey into multiple pieces, and it was finally dissolved in 1922. And there was a war with Italy. And this is one of the things that weakened the Ottoman Empire. Balkan Wars 1912 to 1913. And there is an Ottoman counter coup in 1909. So like this, there are plenty of events that weakened the Turkish Empire, the Ottoman Caliphate. And this partitioning of the Ottoman Empire happened in between 1918 to 1922. These are authentic information, Wikipedia information. You and me can't edit Wikipedia. Only historians who have proof of something, they can edit Wikipedia. So there are a lot of information about the decline and the dissolution of the Ottoman Empire. And this is the Euphrates River drying up. The Euphrates River flood, that was the sixth trumpet. That was the rise of the Ottoman Empire, and the fall of the Ottoman Empire is the Euphrates River drying up. So now let's move on to the most important topic. In the last 2 days we discussed about plenty of topics. There are about 41 topics, but this is the most important topic for us. Let's move on to the seventh vial.